Hello, this is Jonathan Moore, and these are my deliverables for February 2nd. So for the past week, I have worked on two things. One was a refinement and addition to my turret controller. So previously, all I had for my turret controller was that it would rotate towards a potential target if it was in range. Now the cannon or the part of the turret that actually is going to shoot out the paint in the future can now rotate up and down depending on the height and distance to the player. And it can also, in theory, be tagged by a player to change its team. Right now, the tagging feature is not fully implemented, but the second part of the turret changing teams based on the player that tagged it is fully functioning. And I also worked on a player controller. So for the idea for our game is that when a tank is destroyed, like a player's tank is destroyed, they are not completely out of the game. They become a kind of like smaller but faster general human-like character. So those are the two things I worked on. So I will first show. So the player controller is very simple. This is a model that I found on Mixamo.com. It's a free animation site. It included animations for movement and other sources. Currently right now our character can move forward, back, left, and right. You can move diagonally if you push two keys down at once. I also implemented that if you hold the shift key like I am now, the character can sprint. So that's basically all I have for the character control or player controller. It's just basic movement, and the camera is currently following the player. You can see that the turret is rotating. It's just a basic kind of like rotate during its idle state. So if it's not currently tracking a player, it's just going to spin in circles as it looks for something to shoot. So currently for a neutral turret, which is white right now, it can potentially target any of these player blocks. These kind of represent players for different teams. So if I move the red player forward within the turret's seeing distance and field of view, it will eventually, as it is stop the targeted player, and the cannon moved down a little bit so it can properly shoot the block. And if I go into my turret inspector, you can see over here on the right it has a minion and action and change team. So currently for minion it kind of represents the team. So right now it is neutral, and it could potentially be on the red team, which if I click on red and I do change team, it's now red. And because the red block was the closest player that it was possibly tracking, now in theory the red player tagged the turret, so now it's on its team. And now it just went back to its idle state because it has nothing to track at the moment. And that's basically it. You can change the color and team in the inspector right now. But in the future, we will plan on having a player actually physically shoot the tank with some form of prefab or paint prefab, and depending on its color of the player, it will then change the color and team of the turret. That's all I have for this week. Thank you for watching, and I'll have more stuff in the future. Thank you.